What's up, guys? This is Alex, aka Fluka, coach of the Hamilton Rai-Cats, and I'm here with my Season 2 draft recap. I'm going to try and start making videos again. I'm going to try and start using layouts. I'm messing around with them a little bit on my own, but I suck with computers. So Adam is trying to throw one together for me, I think, if he has time. If not, I'll just be doing them the same way I always do them until I can actually learn how to do stuff. But anyway, we're just going to jump into it. So before the draft even started, you can see our team here. We had the chance to franchise a Pokemon from last season. And it basically, franchising, you, for a tier 1 or a tier 2, you pay 40 points. For anything lower, you pay 20 points from your total point total. So it is a little bit of a handicap, but you do get to make 2 first-round picks. And I was the 6th pick overall, so I thought I can basically get 2 first-round picks. I can get something I'm comfortable with and something I know what I'm doing with, and then something maybe that I haven't had, some bigger threat that I can play around with, and I can take it knowing that I already have one other mon. So I really wanted to build a Dragon Fairy Steel Core, and I really wanted to have a lot of speed, and I really wanted to have hazard removal, and that's why I decided to franchise Latias. I did debate franchising some of my lower tier mons from last season, but I just didn't really think they were worth the points. I know it's a lot more to get a tier 1, but really all I had to do with the tier 1 is make sure I draft a tier 2 Mega, and then I still get to make my free agency picks like normal, as if I drafted a tier 1 Mega. So I didn't really think it was that big of a hindrance. So I went with Latias because it just clicks off a lot of boxes for me. I really like its speed. It's got base 110. It's got really good move pool. It's also got really good special defense and special attack. So you can use it as a wall or a sweeper. It's not as strong as Latias, but whatever. So we got Air Canada coming back, making her debut. And then next up, like I said, I was 6th pick overall. So I'm going to... let me look it up real quick. The first few picks of the draft were not what you typically expect. The first pick overall, actually, I remember was Mega Gardevoir, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, they weren't like what you would typically expect out of a draft. So when it got to me, yeah, so Mega Gardevoir, Mega Sticker, Celesteela, Excadrill, Tapu Bulu. So Tapu Bulu none of the Tapus even started going until the 5th round. And then I had my pick up next, and I decided to go with Tapu Fini. So we got Moana, totally stealing that from Gym Leader Juno. Sorry, not sorry. It's a great nickname. But I wanted to try something new. I wanted a fairy. I knew that was the next thing I wanted because last season I waited too long to get a fairy. And then I ended up getting Mega Diancie, which was good. I really wanted to draft Mega Diancie again this season, but I couldn't. It got, because of the speed boost from Mega Evolving, I really wanted to play around with that because you always had to bring Protect on Mega Diancie, it always kind of gave it like it needs one more move to really sweep, kind of syndrome. But I knew I couldn't afford it, so that ended up going to someone else. So I honestly, at this point, I realized at the end of the 4th pick that I was going to get a Tapu. And that had never entered my mind. I thought for sure they'd be going like first thing. So I knew I wanted either a Tapu or Magearna. And Magearna would have given me the Fairy Steel Dragon Core in 2 picks, which would have been amazing. I was considering using it. It was a little slow for my speed, or for my taste, but it's so bulky, and it's got such good moves that you can throw on it. You could just Choice Scarf it. Maybe you would only outspeed everything normally on a speed. You wouldn't outspeed any Scarfers like I like to do. But, it would still tear holes through teams. But I decided to go with Moana because I really hate statuses. Misty Surge presents statuses, which is great. It's a bulky water, which is another good value pick. It doesn't have recovery, which is something I do like on a bulky water. Does it actually? It does have haze, which is great. Nature's Madness is a really good move for a more defensive mon. Anything that does half, That's really good. Of course, it doesn't get scald burns, which is kind of a little less than ideal for a bulky water, but it does mean I'm always running surf, so I always do get a little more power out of it, which, it's give or take. It gets taunt. It does get aqua ring and stuff like that, but not the kind of things you would typically use. So it's really good. I'm really excited to use a Tapu. And then at this point in the draft, um, steel types started going. There was a run on steel types. Let me just like Scizor, Mega Scizor was the second pick overall, so that went right away. What else had gone? I think Magearna had been picked. Celesteela had obviously gone. Here we go. So yeah, Scizor had gone, and Celebi had gone, or not Celebi, Jirachi had gone. So people went on a run of steel types, and I knew I needed a good steel type because, again, I think last season I ended up getting Registeel, I did use it well in my opinion, and I did like using it. It was a really good tier 4 mon actually, but because fairies got such a big buff in this game, I really thought it was important for me to have a really good steel type. And I also knew that I had to lock in a tier 2 mega. And there aren't that many good tier 2 megas. When I was looking at them, well, not good. Mega Pidgeot would have been fun to use, but it wasn't what I was looking to use for my team. The other tier 2 mega I thought about drafting was Beedrill, which would have been fun. Mega Beedrill is actually my favorite mega, period. But I ended up just, it was multiple things that I needed. It gave me a Stealth Rocker. I went with Ironmonger, the Mega Aggron. I've never used Mega Aggron, so it's going to be kind of a learning experience for me. But it is basically just like a bulky tank that's just going to punch holes if I need it to, take any hits if I need it to. Filter is a really good ability, and especially since I dropped down from Rock Steel to just Steel, just pure Steel typing is really good, in my opinion. And then Filter, it kind of gives me extra defenses against anything that would be stab. Knocks it down by half power, I believe. It also lets me use Dragon Tail, so I can swap things out. I get Autonomized, but I don't think I would actually ever use that. What else do I get? Head Smash, obviously. And you can run a Rest Talk sec if you want. So it was really important for me to finish that Fairy Dragon Steel core first, because that was the main core I wanted to use. As you can see, all these mons have a really good defense stat, whether physical or special, as well as usable high attack. So I can use them multifacetedly, kind of. Not so much Mega Aggron, but definitely more Tapu Fini and Latias. They can go defensive or offensive, so they're also very versatile. Oh, something that I forgot to mention about Air Canada is that it gets Healing Wish, which is great for Mega Aggron here. I also think they just get Regular Wish, which is also great for me. So I can use that to help heal this thing up if I don't want to have to rely on rest. And if I can keep this thing in there, it's just going to be a problem for people. Especially if I can take out things like their special fire type or their physical fighting type, like Filter helps, but it won't help that much. So it'll allow me to keep it healthy. So next up, I'm looking at it, and I've dealt with my point total. I drafted Mega Aggron earlier than I wanted to, but I knew I needed to lock in the tier 2 Mega, and so many steel types were going. I just wanted to make sure I got mine. So next up, I was looking at what is the next thing I'm worried about, and tier 2 is really shallow. There's a lot of mons I wanted in tier 2, but not a lot of them that I saw synergizing with my first 3 picks that well. I really wanted Reuniclus. I really wanted to get Reuniclus back, but I already had the Psychic type with Air Canada. And I know I had them both last season, but I personally did not like running them both at the same time, just because knockoff is such a common and annoying move, as well as U-turn. Um, so doubling up that weakless was never something I wanted. I almost franchised Reuniclus actually, but I would have if Latias didn't get defog. I just being able to remove hazard removal from my mind before the draft even started. Like, worst case scenario, Latias is my defogger. Great. Um, so that's why I went with Latias instead. Um, but I knew I had to get a good one, and one of my favorite Pokemon just got moved down to Tier 2, and I've always wanted to use a proper fast electric type, so we went with Raikou. Raja is going to be on the squad. Due to the event, it does get Aura Sphere. In that case, I have to run Rash, but it's so fast that I don't really need to worry about a speed boosting nature, and I'll still outspeed a lot. And I can always just throw an AV on it to compensate for that Spadef drop if I'm really that worried about it, or just don't bring Aura Sphere a week where I need it to be Spadef, right? So Aura Sphere is a really good move, never misses, which is always great. I also got the Discharge, extra sensory. I do get Extreme Speed. My attack stat isn't that great comparatively speaking, but I mean, an Extreme Speed is still a really useful move to have in your team. It runs Reflect, Signal Beam, so T-Wave. So I just thought this was a good fast electric type for me to use with a good, decent move pool, and it just made me not have to worry about tier 2 anymore. So that's ultimately why I went with Raja here. Also, it is the mascot pick, which I didn't even realize at the time because I'm an idiot. I still think a Staraptor is the mascot pick, but it's Raikou. So that's fun too that it's on our team, right? Actually, I kind of feel like we should just name it Hamilton then. We're gonna change that. Raja's my typical name, but it's Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton. How about that? Alexander Hamilton. So we have Alexander Hamilton, the Raikou here. So next up, I was looking poison because again, fairy types were very common. Or got a really big boost. Everybody wanted to have a powerful fairy. There's a lot more of them now, so they're a much more prevalent threat. And so I wanted to make sure I had poison stab. I wanted to have poison. I also wanted to have an electric immunity, which is, you can already see what it is, but I wanted to have an electric immunity. And so I also wanted to grab a tier 3 because I was looking at I broke down, if I get this mega, these are the tiers I can pick from. And with a tier 2, I could get one tier 1, but then I was either going to have to get one or two more tier 3s, depending on how I drafted my next couple picks. So I was thinking I need to get anywhere from 3 to 4 of these things, and tier 3 is a wide tier, but it's the only tier that we require 2 Pokemon from, so automatically it gets double picked. And then just because of the way point totals break down, usually the best thing for a lot of people is to pick up an extra tier 3. So most people end up drafting 3 of them anyway, and it's not that wide of a pool, so there's no way trying to get 4 of them meant I had to start early. So my next 2 picks I made sure were from tier 3, so I had my required ones done, and then from there I can value pick, okay, do I need to get 2 3 or 3s, just one more? Can I maybe make a couple tier 5s? It means I can get a tier 2, that kind of math. So my next 2 picks were made pretty much on the wheel, or not the wheel, but whatever I get. Or no, they weren't. Anyway, so yeah, I went up with Nidoqueen. It gives me another hazard setter. It gives me a different hazard to set, which is T-Spikes. It has great coverage. It's not as strong or as fast as Nidoking, but it gets all the same coverage. I can still try and run it Choice Scarf if I wanted to, or I can just use it more defensive and pack the coverage to take hits on things that stay in against me or switch into me. Sludge Wave spam is going to be great for me. Earth Power spam is great as well. I get the Bulk Beam for anything that's off the ground. So that's Elizabeth right there. And then after that, I was like, I need a wall with recovery. You can see I have a lot of like defensively offensive mods. So I got the Latias, the Moana, I got um, the Elizabeth, um, but I wanted something that had recovery, other than Roost on Latias, because I didn't want to have to make that a defensive mon every week. So I ended up going with Shaman. Shaman also gives me a Spore switch in, or a Poison Powder, or not a Poison Powder switch in, but Leech Seed switch in. Um, it's it's always nice to have a grass mon because ground waters are so common and people love to use them. It gets Seed Flare. It's a Pixie-mon, so it's base 100s across the board. So you can build this in a few different ways. You can make it defensive. You can make it especially defensive. You can make it speedy, speedy specs, modest scarf, that kind of thing. Um, it also has great coverage, so it can be a good Z move setter. I don't know about secondary effects of Z moves. That's something I'm gonna have to look into. But I feel like with all the grass moves, there's got to be some grass moves that have really good Z moves, like technical things about them. So we got Shaman. Um, so that was our sixth round pick. Oh, that was our sixth round pick. And then next up, I was looking at it. Um, I knew that no matter how I drafted, I was going to need another tier three. So, oh, actually, no. At this point in the draft, I knew, okay, so I have enough points. I can either get a tier two or a tier three. I have to decide which one I want now. Uh, and the only things that it changes is if I draft a tier three, I can get another tier four. If I draft a tier two, I have to draft a tier five. So I was looking at tier five, and I didn't see a lot I wanted. There was a lot of things that were like. I'm not saying that tier five is bad. There's just not a lot of things that I wanted to have to use in tier five. There were a couple things like maybe a Weezing, but I already had Nidoqueen, and just a couple more things like that. I totally forgot Miss Magius was in there. I totally would have grabbed that because I also thought I had a Ghost type on this type at this point in the draft. Because it's worth noting I was going to get Delmise instead of Shaman, but CO sniped me. But anyway, I thought it'd be better to grab another tier four rather than two tier fives. Um, and because tier four, no one had really been taking from it, and there was actually a lot of stuff in tier four I wanted to use. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my tier three now. I get my tier three right now, and then all I'll have left is a tier five and three tier fours that I need to grab. And I can, yeah, that's basically how it has to break down. So I went with Embor because I've been thinking about using an Embor since we started the Kahuna season. Or the Kahuna tournament, sorry. Embor has crazy good coverage, in my opinion. It gets Reckless, which is a great ability. It's not very fast, but if you throw Choice Scarf on it, it won't outspeed any Scarfer by any means, but it can still outspeed a decent part of people's teams, other than like their fastest threats. And if this thing hits you first, it probably doesn't need to give you a second hit. It is wild. It does have usable special attack. It gets Scald, stuff like that. So, especially when you boost it up with Reckless, it gets Head Smash, and Rock move is always good coverage to have on a team. I almost drafted Lycanroc Midnight, and I may still do that. But anyway, so then at that point, I knew I wanted to get my tier 5. I wanted to get it done out of the way. Boom, went Sneasel. Egret's back. I loved using Egret last season. I feel like I didn't even use Sneasel all that well last season, and I still got sweeps with it. Um, it's nothing to sleep on. Like it's as fast as Raikou, which is kind of wild. And 95 attack it's definitely not great, but it's usable because it's so fast. You can put a band on it, and just punch, like just start stapling holes in people. Which and it's a Sneasel. It's just like a fun thing to use. So I knew I wanted to have Sneasel back on the team. And then at this point, I knew that all my picks had to be tier fours pretty much. And unfortunately, because I wanted to prioritize getting Sneasel because I just wanted to use it. Um, at this point, there was nothing I needed for my team that I don't think anyway personally. They were just things I wanted at this point. Um, so I prioritized getting Sneasel so I can get my desired tier five pick. But unfortunately, a couple things I wanted had already been taken, and then there was just a few things that I wanted to use, but now didn't fit with my team based on what I had drafted. I really wanted to bring Typhlosion this season. No one's ever brought Typhlosion. I love Typhlosion. I should use it, but I've always had Entei. So I never had a need for it. And now I have Emboar. And Emboar may get traded, but it won't be traded for Typhlosion. So I was looking at it and I was thinking about things I needed, and I decided that bird spam was something I wanted. So I went with Braviary, which, it's base 80. Not the fastest, but it's faster than bulky things. Like a Tangrowth isn't outspeeding me. And it's a really good speed tier to Scarf, in my opinion. 80, 85 is like brilliant scarfing range because they always, as you can see, it still has 123 attack. It's great. It also has a defeatist user. Um, so Crazy brought like drafted triple intimidate, so that actually doesn't bother me. Bring it. I don't think I face Crazy, but still. So I'll have a switch in if they have a really problem like a Lando T or something like that. It also is a third defog user, so now I have Latias, Braviary, and Tapu Fini. I don't have to worry about hazards. I don't have a lot of hazards on my team, so I wanted to get a rapid spinner just so to have diversity. That's why I wanted Delmise, but which also would have been a spin blocker, but blah blah blah. But I figured defog is good enough. I don't set hazards that often, and if I do, then I may just have to accept having hazards in my field. I don't know. But yeah, it also gives me normal span, which is nothing to scoff at. Like um, Megalopony spams normal attacks, and it's a huge threat. So Braviary is going to be a good member of the squad. And then at this point, I thought I had a ghost type. I really did. I really thought I had a ghost type. So I needed to. I felt, you know what? Let's get a ghost type. It's a spin blocker. If I do get my hazards up, and they only have rapid spin, which because I have 3 defog users is actually a possibility that no one was able to get defog. And they only have rapid spinners. I wanted a ghost type. I wanted another defensive wall. I wanted something fun to use, so I ended up going with Cophagrigus. We got Bakura here. Bakura the Cophagrigus. And I'm not crazy about this pick because, again, I don't know how to use it, but Mummy's really good. If I make it defensive, I can, like, neuter things. Like, if someone brings a Mega Pinsir or any other kind of 8 Mon against me, Mummy. And then all of a sudden your moves are not stab and they're weaker. So Mummy is just a really good ability. I've never used it. I'm not sure exactly if I am gonna like. I'm not confident in my ability to use this thing, but I'll try. You can see its defenses are really good, and it's got usable special attack. It's just HP isn't really high, which is not good for a wall, and I think its only good recovery is like rest or pain split, which aren't the greatest, but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to try and use Bakura. And then our last pick, this is only the 10th round, but because I franchised, I didn't have to draft in the last round. So this is actually my last pick, and at this point, tier 4 had been kind of picked over, and I knew I was gonna have to double up on something. And I was looking at it, and I was like, I could. I'm gonna have to have a duplicate typing probably. Um, I had thought about Frostlass, but that was before Cophagrigus. I didn't want to double up on an ice type, even though it would be immune to fighting, but I just didn't want to have to deal with 2 ice types. One ice type is usually good for a squad, in my opinion. Um, So then I saw that Sock was still around, so I figured Sock. I used Sock pretty well last season. It always did the same thing. It'll probably always do the same thing now. Um, but it's good at what it did. I swept it a few times with it, which, I mean, anytime you can sweep with tier 4 mons, I think actually all my sweeps, not all my sweeps, a lot of my sweeps were with tier 4 mons, I think. A couple times with Latios, maybe once with Diancie, but a lot with Sneasel and Sock. So I like it. It's got good coverage. It's got knockoff, which is something I didn't really have a whole lot of on this team. I think my only knockoff user was Sneasel at this point. Um, Again, it's in that great speed tier. 85 is a great speed tier to scarf, in my opinion, which is why I always scarf it. Because you can see it's still got 125 attack. And so I can scarf it, go adamant most times, unless I'm trying to outspeed another scarfer, and just punch holes in things. It just comes in and staples you. It's a great mod in my opinion. Really good value pick, so I'm happy to use it. And that is our team. So we'll just go over it one more time. We've got the Latios as our franchise. Then round one we got Tapu Fini, Mega Aggron, Raikou, Nidoqueen, Shaman, Emboar, Sneasel, Braviary, Cofagrigus, and Sock. Uh, so just like kind of a general view on it, there's a lot of mons I've never used here. I've never used a Tapu Fini competitively. I barely have, other than the Kahuna tournament, I didn't really do a lot of Gen 7 meta battles yet. I haven't been on Showdown. I only watched the GBA. I know how to use it, but like things are gonna, I don't know exactly how good they can all be, and that's gonna bite me in the butt when I'm going against people. It's going to bite me in the butt when I'm team building, but that's what I'm excited to do this season is learn how to do it. I've never used a Mega Aggron really competitively, so I'm a little scared about that. Same with Nidoqueen, Shaman, Cofagrigus, Braviary, Emboar. I don't use these things competitively, but I like the way they fit together. I think they fit together decently. I got good type coverage everywhere. I got a couple things that I could trade off if something becomes available. So it's flexible without I can drop there. Last time, if I dropped in last draft, if I dropped anything, it was crucial. I lost something from my team, where which meant that some things became necessary staples if I wanted to do one type of thing. With this, everyone has a few roles they can play, and they interchange so well that you can swap out one person and the team still works. Which means that I can it, personally it makes me feel like it's easier to fine tune it because I can swap out one thing, insert something new that I think might work better without actually changing how the team functions uh, negatively. So if that makes any sense to anybody but me, um, but I don't know. I'm really excited to see how this season goes out. I've already started team building. Um, and our first week opponent is Super Nerd and the Seattle Wingles. So that's going to be a fun battle. But anyway, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for listening to my stream of consciousness rant. The draft was amazing. Thank you all for participating, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.